Welcome to the Squad Show. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Will we get Arif Hasan to say something nice about Carson Wentz today? We'll find out.
And I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. Why couldn't the Vikings have taken like 20 of those points and put them into last week?
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with Wide Left Football. Luke Braun, how do you think the defense did, man? What do you think?
What's happening, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman, Jonathan Grenard. He's a top 5 edge in the NFL, and shame on you if you disagree.
Skol! It's the Viking Squad. Everything Minnesota Vikings, every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the land of 10,000 lakes, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to gear up. The Viking Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into our Monday Viking Squad Show after a 48-10 shellacking, pummeling, throttling of the Cincinnati Bengals. Vikings are 2-1. You met the crew, and you're going to hear Vikings talk for the next hour surrounding Isaiah Rodgers' day for the ages. An all-time great defensive performance. It only took him 2 quarters to do it. Jordan Mason might be your RB1 permanently. Carson Wentz gets a win. We've also got myriad nerdy stats and party fouls from yesterday in the NFL. It's Luke Inman, Luke Braun, Arif Hasan, and myself, Sam Ekstrom. We are brought to you by Mazda. Yes, indeed. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda, Move and Be Moved. We're also streaming on the Locked On Vikings YouTube channel. Find our audio in the Locked On Vikings podcast feed, where Luke Braun has great daily content. It's always free and available. Let's talk Isaiah Rodgers to start. It's official. He's a 99.9 on PFF, the greatest grade of all time, the greatest half of all time. No matter how you slice it, like basically everything he did was an NFL record. And I counted. He did it all in a span of 24 plays on defense. In those 24 plays, he had a pick six, he had a strip, scoop, and score, he had a sweet pass deflection against T. Higgins, and he had another forced fumble, all in the span of 24 plays. Luke Braun, Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah, defense had an okay day, I guess.
But they're all right.
No, I did. I mean, yeah, we're probably never going to see anything like that again. Like, good gracious, that I can't remember a time. We were talking about it on the episode right after the game. I can't remember a time when a cornerback took over a game like that, like an outside cornerback. It's one thing to see an edge rusher do it; they could be involved in any play, or a safety because they can roam all over the field. They gotta like the Bengals kind of keep. They had to keep going over there. They had a stretch of 4 offensive plays, and 3 of them were lost fumbles. That was just an unbelievable meltdown.
And it was at the end of a half, too. Like, it was like you could have scored, and then
it was 17-3 at the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, like you score, you get the ball back at the beginning of the half, you get the double dip, and now you're
Vikings offense has been kind of lethargic. Yeah, this could go badly. Jake Brown,
right?
It's gonna get hot. Yeah,
you're thinking the broadcast is talking about like, well, this is how it starts. It's like, yeah, all right, yeah, we're going into half 17-10. Are we? No, 34-3.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember I said it on the postcast show. I remember Brian Williams during the Corey Chavis, Brian Russell era. He had 3 interceptions in a game. I'm trying to find it. I know he had 3 interceptions. That's the last time I can remember, to your point, Luke, a cornerback dominating a game like that in that kind of fashion.
The Vikings have definitely had some zany defensive performances where they scored like multiple times on defense. I think they had against the Giants one time. They beat the Giants with like some combination of a kickoff return, punt return, and pick six. And those were all the points they scored, and they won the game. They've done some
Eli
insane
Manning.
things. Yeah.
Eli Manning weirdly could not beat the Vikings.
Yeah, Manning threw 3 pick sixes one day to like Greenway and Dwight Smith. That was crazy. So they've done crazy things before. Rarely just one guy has done all the craziness. And like I said yesterday, no Vikings ever had multiple defensive touchdowns. And the chat goes, except for Chandon Sullivan. And to that I say, touche. Chandon Sullivan got robbed.
Yeah, etc.
3 years ago. Adi Cole did it in the preseason. I'm
trying to
here you
remember,
go. Versus Detroit, week 12, November 23rd, 2003. Brian Williams, three interceptions. Only beat Detroit 24-14, by the way, that game.
Classic Mike Tice
was
team.
Was the Chandon Sullivan robbed touchdown on the same drive as his actual touchdown?
No.
Okay.
So both of them, in theory, could have counted.
Okay. That's important.
Yeah. Both of those were ludicrous. So this is the Isaiah Rodgers welcome to Minnesota moment. He'd had, I would say, a quiet first 2 weeks. First thing you're struck by is the speed. Oh my goodness. Is there like a package they can draw up for Isaiah Rodgers on offense?
Is he the best two-way player in the NFL? Forget about Travis Hunter.
Someone was joking to me during the game, like, "Oh my God, they finally found a way to have Isaiah Rodgers do some returning."
That's right. Yeah,
he just had
he ran a 4.28, so he's got legit 4.3 speed.
Yeah, he hit 20.8 miles per hour on the
barely better than Jordan Davis.
just
barely.
I mean, Sam, to your point about kind of the slow start, I feel like, and we touched on this very briefly on the reaction pod yesterday, right after the game, but like kind of a quiet summer too. Like free agency started, right? Let's go all the way back. They bring back Byron Murphy for 18, 19, 20 mil a year. Now Flores has his cornerback one, doesn't leave a lot kind of left in the bank to play with though. And he bangs the table for this guy. He says, if this is my kind of allowance you're giving me to play with, this is the guy I want. And all summer, we heard Flores pump him up every chance, he got, which, okay, whatever, it's the coach. What else is he going to say? But like as fans though, right? As people who cover the team from a projection standpoint, like an analysis standpoint, I felt like we didn't really know what we were going to get with Isaiah Rodgers. I think we were intrigued. I think we were, optimistic, but we just hadn't seen it yet. And now all of a sudden you put up a game like that, a game that, literally etches you in the NFL record books. I think we got to see a little bit of what Flores was kind of banging the table for. And again, we've already touched on it. Like that ain't never going to happen again. You're not going to see a game like that. Not sustainable. Thanks Harrison Smith for tipping that first pass for the pick six. But he's got a nose for the ball. We saw the peanut punch a couple times. He's a playmaker. And again, to your point, Sam, the biggest thing is the speed, I think. Legitimate 4.3 speed. Probably, helps Flores sleep a little bit easier at night, knowing I can leave this guy on an island or put him in man coverage anyways, more times than not, and feel good about it. Last year, think about Flores last year. He's rolling with 34-year-old Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin on the outside. He wanted some speed. He wanted some youth, wanted a little bit more high upside guy he could trust on an island. And yeah, for everything that Flores was scheming up, just some absolute chaotic stuff. He just continues to put his players in positions to go make plays, but you got to have playmakers out there. So, it was a lot of fun. I honestly think one of my favorite plays of him wasn't the turnover. It was that 50-50 jump ball against T. Higgins.
That was so sick.
That was great.
Sick.
That's something that's like, okay, that I can...
That you could take with you, right?
Yes.
That
we can see week in and week out.
Yeah. What if I went back in time to like May and I told a bunch of Vikings fans, there's going to be a purple Vikings single game jersey in the Hall of Fame, and it's going to be number 2. It's going to say Rodgers.
God.
For a record-setting day.
The Vikings signed the right Rodgers.
What element of his? Because obviously some item of his is going into the Hall of Fame for the day that he had. But I remember they took Kendall Hinton's gloves.
Could be gloves or cleats, yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny because technically Kendall Hinton did not start that game that he played quarterback in for the Broncos.
That's a really funny thing to put in.
That's insane.
Yeah. Like they didn't have him on the field. They had the running back take the snap. So whatever. But he was the quarterback. So I'd
like to know what we've heard now several times that Brian Flores got this different tone in his voice when he talked about Isaiah Rodgers this offseason. It was different. He pounded the table for him. I'd like to hear what the voice was it real, like low and serious?
That baritone,
very
low.
Or was it loud? Was it loud, literally banging the I'd just like to know. I would like to see an example of the voice that he gets.
If any fanfic writers are
they
listening,
record
you could do us a
everything
service.
nowadays, right? I'm sure there's like some lost footage on like Making the Vikings or whatever VEN documentary is following them around this year that they could just release intercut with like these like returns, right? That would go pretty hard.
Brian,
it's
do the
just
voice.
Flores in Kwesi's office.
Brian, do the
like
voice.
nine names
line,
in a
Brian.
hat, and he just pulls out a hat. Isaiah Rodgers.
That'd be great. Yeah. It was like, I did get a text from somebody who's worked in personnel at the college and a little bit at the NFL level who was like, yeah, the Vikings have an incredible pro scouting department, maybe the best pro scouting department in the league. Why can't they scout college players?
Hey, Dallas Turner had a great game. Okay,
Yeah.
He did.
They found Levi Drake Rodriguez at A&M
He
Commerce.
did.
He killed it.
did. They did find an A&M Commerce gem in LDR. What's great is that his highlight is maybe his least impressive play of the week because he unblocked trap block kind of.
Yeah.
It was a very
about the
impactful play.
swim
Don't get me wrong.
move combined TFL with Jalen Redmond, who also killed someone.
Yeah, rule. The
They're
Vikings
finding these
spent
dudes
all
on.
this
They
money on-
can only find these guys in the weirdest places.
Right, yeah, they got a
Trade
UFL guy.
every
You gotta,
pick.
yeah, you gotta go to the Renegades.
D2 defensive tackle, and they spent all this money on like Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen,
Yeah.
and not to say that
Yeah.
they're bad players or anything like that, but the best
They had to trade
defensive line
Harrison Phillips.
performances.
They had to
They
trade
had
the
somebody-
guy.
They traded Harrison Phillips.
Yeah, it's the best.
And Jonathan
defensive
Allen
line
did
performances
fine.
These guys.
He got doubled a lot. He took a lot of attention, and it left one-on-ones for the other guys to win their matchups. Javon Hargrave got hurt. I guess that's not as good.
Is your concern, Braun? You were very, very mad about the run defense last week. Is that alleviated at all? Or is this like cause and effect is asking in the chat, can you put so much stock into a blowout like that where you really only had to play like 2 quarters?
Yeah, I think whatever you do with the Atlanta game, you do with this one, and then they kind of cancel each other out. So sure, I guess that is in a way alleviating a concern.
So they're as
like,
good
if you're like, that was a
against
fluke
the
week 2.
Chicago Bears.
Yeah. So that's what we're left with.
Yeah, if you're like, week 2 was a fluke. Well, this one probably is too. Like, that's one of the worst O-line performances I've ever seen. But, and I actually have a nerdy stat about it, which I can do now or later. Hit it.
Yeah.
Cue 'em up.
Let's do it.
Analytics fans rejoice. It's time to get educated
Whoa, you're blowing my mind right now.
with the nerdy stat of the day.
So that game was not the biggest pressure percentage of the week somehow. The Raiders did worse against the Commanders.
Who did the Commanders have? What were the Raiders doing?
Who do they have?
Mariota was their quarterback.
No. But it's who?
I just
pressured
forgot.
the Raiders.
I don't know.
They got who's the Illinois D tackle that I really like, the nose tackle.
Newton.
Wayne Smoot.
Newton.
John. Yeah, the reason they let
Johnny
Allen walk
Newton.
was because they had Johnny Newton. Yeah.
That's okay. That's kind of funny that you okay. Oh no.
the
They have
Vikings-
people. They have Dorrance Armstrong. They grabbed Von Miller.
Armstrong.
I
Miller.
forgot that they grabbed Von Miller. They've got Frankie
yeah.
Louvu, who is like their Ivan Pace.
Yeah.
Javon Kinlaw, Deron Payne, Johnny Newton.
Kinlaw.
Okay, these are dudes.
Okay.
They got dudes.
And Jalen
So
Holmes.
they get 58.8% pressure. The Commanders do. The Vikings just behind that at 58.1, tied for the second most of the season with what the Bills did to the Jets
Week 3.
last week. And that is a higher pressure percentage than what the Vikings gave up to the Falcons, which was 53.3. So however mad you were about the Falcons and the O-line and like what JJ McCarthy was under, the Vikings inflicted something worse.
Good. I'm glad.
I'm very glad.
I'm
I'm glad it happened to Jake Browning.
You take the trauma with you and you put it on someone else. I think is how that goes, right?
Mhm.
Hurt people, and we just hurt
Yeah.
people.
Hurt people.
Zach Taylor was
Pressured
not
people,
going to
pressure
let
people.
him off the field until they did something. I feel like they would have played him until the very end, until they accomplished some movement of the football. And
He
Arif,
wanted
you
that
and I-
garbage touchdown back.
You and I
we did
were
see
worried
some Brett
already.
Rippon in this.
We
in
did.
this
We
game.
did see.
He
old
did
friend.
once again take reps at US Bank Stadium.
good friend
Yeah.
Brett Rippon.
I tweeted out, right, like if you told me, but like in August, right, that there's gonna be a game where Brett Rippon and Max Brosmer both took snaps in a Vikings game, I would have been like, yeah, that's awful for the Vikings. It's an unmitigated disaster,
Nightmare fuel.
Right.
and it turns out no.
Yeah.
No.
Trivia question before we break.
Greatest game in 2 decades. No.
Vikings played, so they had 45 eligible offensive or defensive players. Who is the one that didn't see the field? They did see the field on special teams. They did not play on offense
Okay,
or defense.
there's one player who
did not get reps.
Well, you know I can't pull
Javier
up our
Thomas.
lads, so I got one hand tied behind my back here. I know Felton got a catch.
Yeah.
Chambliss got a sack. I think he's got a sack.
Chambliss had coverage wraps and a sack. And
Nudie
Austin
was out
Keys had a
there.
sack.
Got a PI.
It wasn't Tavier Thomas, was it?
That's what I said.
It was not Tavier.
Not Tavier.
Was it offense or defense?
Offense.
Oh, I was going to guess Jay Ward next. Oh, it's probably one of the offensive linemen then. Was it Henry Bird?
It was Henry Bird.
Oh,
Nice.
Call up.
Nice.
Call up Henry
Only
Bird.
guy. Joe Huber was on the field.
fun.
My guy.
Yo, Huber, let's go.
Joe Huber was on the
Pride of
field.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Let's carry on the nerdy stats. Plus, Jordan Mason's huge day. Carson Wentz debuts. Much more to get to. The Squad Show. Brought to you today by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app. We're making the right call. Can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. Simplest, easiest way to get in the action. Pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes in less than 60 seconds. They also have a new feature that I've been doing for free where you fill out a first touchdown entry with like 6 or 7 games, and if you get 100% on it, you win $1 million. Easy as that. I also like putting together the entries, usually on the Vikings game. Yesterday, I went 4 out of 6. Didn't quite cash. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Thanks to the everydayers who are tuning in all week long here on Locked On Vikings. We got the Ron Johnson Show tomorrow on Locked On Sports Minnesota as well, and the Care 11 edition of this show on Wednesdays. Let's keep rolling down the Carson Wentz topic line. I think that this Carson Wentz got overshadowed. Carson Wentz was not the main story out of this game.
Outstanding.
Carson Wentz didn't need to be excellent in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and Arif will give you the first crack at this because this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart. Sure. I thought Carson Wentz was fine. I don't think that he was spectacular. I thought there were some first half struggles. The third quarter was probably his best quarter. I thought Carson Wentz was fine. How's that for a hot take?
I don't know that there's another take
temp
to have actually. Like I don't know how. Like I suppose
comfortable
you could always
72 degree take.
You could always go hotter and be like, he's the reason they won the game, which would obviously not be true. He does lead the team in quarterback wins. Or I guess he's tied.
Well, tied for that. Tied for lead in quarterback win percentage.
Yeah.
But JJ McCarthy has more comebacks.
Where's the fourth quarter comeback, Carson?
Yeah. Come on. No, I mean, this is kind of, I think I was saying this last week, either on this show or another show, but like he has a very similar weakness profile to what we see from JJ McCarthy, and he demonstrated a little bit of that, especially in the first half of the game. But having a similar weakness profile doesn't mean you're like the same quarterback, right? The degree to which his weaknesses impacted his game was significantly smaller than the degree to which JJ McCarthy's weaknesses impacted his game against Atlanta. So, yeah, like he held on to the ball too long in the first half. In the second half, he got rid of the ball fairly quickly. Again, and also excluding the first drive, right, which is like a nice narrow window to have all of your problems be in. But yeah, I mean, he on that first drive processed pretty well. He was able to get through what I thought was probably not the first read on some of these looks and still hit somebody. Assisted, of course, by multiple Bengals penalties, which maybe set the tone for the day. But yeah, I don't know, like. The decision the Vikings have to make is not, is Carson Wentz good, 2-3 weeks from now. The decision they'll have to make is who's going to help us win more games right now. And it doesn't. Carson Wentz, unfortunately, Carson Wentz doesn't have to be good to be in the leader of that particular discussion because we haven't seen enough from McCarthy to be confident in him. So Carson Wentz was fine. That seems to be an upgrade. That hurts my heart.
I think the burden of proof is a little higher for like the actionable, like, are we going to keep putting Carson Wentz in even after JJ McCarthy is healthy thing? Like, if we're talking about benching JJ McCarthy, I think the burden of proof is higher in that building. I think they need to see a lot. They need to see Carson Wentz show, like, the burden of proof. I think it's the same thing as Darnold. They need him to show not just that he's going to be a little better right now, because the reasons, at least that I think that McCarthy is struggling, are different. They have more to do with inexperience and, like, especially the operation, which was much cleaner against Cincinnati. They were breaking the huddle at 18 seconds. They were snapping the ball at 10 seconds.
Here's the thing. I agree with you that the operation was cleaner, but they still had like four.
It wasn't perfectly.
It was still
clean,
pretty sloppy,
which is important because if it's like it doesn't even solve the whole problem, and that's probably the most drastic difference in Carson Wentz's favor was that the operation was better, and even that still isn't quite like, well, he gets
five operational
right. Like, he doesn't really
penalties. Yeah, five operational penalties that were like inarguably it was better.
Yep.
So
Robert wants to know if they win all the Wentz games, which is probably 3 total, do they go with JJ? Like Braun said,
if they win them this way,
it depends on what it looks like, right?
But the burden of proof is way higher than that. He has to show like that he's having a renaissance. He has to do like what Daniel Jones is doing in Indianapolis, not just game manage your way and then watch the defense get a bunch of touchdowns. I mean, this was a 2016 win. This is not something the Vikings should accidentally think is going to happen every year.
It was a 2016 win. I will say, though, right? Like, I don't know that McCarthy has ever looked fine. He's only ever looked bad or incredibly good. And the incredibly good thing was the one quarter, right?
No, but because he's younger, there's reason to believe that it will change. There is no reason to believe that anything about Carson Wentz will change.
I cannot believe I'm on this side of this argument. Will that change this season, right? Like, that's the question, because you have a lot of stuff that you have to do in order to make the playoffs, right? And you should try to...
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable with the notion that is,
or is it the only way it changes is unless he starts playing, though?
Well, yeah, of course. But like, the job right now, the job of the Vikings is not to develop JJ McCarthy; it's to win games. Mm-hmm. And at the moment, it seems like the way that we're talking about this is that these two items are at odds with each other, because the Vikings have a lot of one-year contracts and retirements about to happen. They're probably not going to get Harrison Smith next year. They're probably not going to keep Andrew Van Ginkel. There's a lot of things that they have to take care of this year, and they want to do right by that locker room. And so your job is to win games. It doesn't matter in the short term if it's better to develop JJ McCarthy by playing him, if you have that opportunity to win games. Now, if you don't, play the guy, right? Because it might work itself out. You could win some games at the end of the season, make the playoffs, and you're good. But that's not the scenario that we might be facing. And it has to be, and here's the thing, the margin for error for Carson Wentz is still going to be very high, right? Because if the argument for Wentz is that things are smoother and he's not screwing it up, because that's what we're at. We're at the he's not screwing it up stage. If that's the argument for him, then he's got to super not screw it up. Whereas McCarthy, so I agree with this element of what Luke is saying, whereas McCarthy should be able to screw it up because he's got a much higher ceiling in terms of the things that the offense is going to ask him to do. So
yeah,
Wentz can't F anything up if they continue winning games like this and he wants to make.
As long as Carson Wentz makes no mistakes, he gets to keep
which
the job.
famously Carson Wentz.
Hey, I've got a stat. I've got a lot of nerdy stats today. Here's one of them. So this is the pro Wentz propaganda case being made here. Week 1, JJ McCarthy, time to attempt. He was 24th out of 32 in the league. In week 2, time to attempt, JJ McCarthy was last, slowest time to attempt in all of week 2. Yesterday, Carson Wentz, 2.18 seconds, quickest time to attempt in the NFL.
Where are you getting 2.18? That is faster than every quarterback in history.
That is Pro Football Focus. It's a website that I don't know if you've heard of.
I'm looking this
sounds
up. That's
made up.
Crazy.
Okay.
Sounds fake.
Yeah, I was going to check that against True Media. I will.
True Media uses. Well, it depends on which True Media uses, but NGS has, I think, a longer time to throw in general when you use
That's
next
interesting
gen
that
stats.
it's so different.
2.18. This is time to attempt, Arif, not like. it
Oh,
just
not
doesn't include-
okay. Time to attempt, not
doesn't include
total
sacks.
time in the okay.
Oh
Right,
yeah, because
so-
there were a couple times where he like ran around with it a bunch and then got sacked.
Yeah,
Which,
okay.
which yeah,
Mhm.
I was like,
James,
what in the
James
world?
says 2.55. I don't know. Let me.
2.55 is his total time to throw, but that includes, the scrambles, the decision to turn from a scramble to a run. That includes the sacks, that includes throwaways and stuff like that. So 2.55, which is very fast. 2.55 is quite fast. That there is a first half, second half split there, where if we use, I think, next gen stats data, which is again a little bit different, his first half time to throw was like 2.96, and his second half time to throw was like 2.3 something. So like there was a huge difference there. But like that, I agree, Sam, that this is part of the argument.
I here's what I'll say is like if you can properly identify why the offense wasn't working with JJ McCarthy. If his brain just can't call plays, okay, trade him then. Josh Rosen him and move on. If we're having that conversation, but we are talking about giving up on a top 10 drafted quarterback after 2 games because the backup came in and won a game off of the back of a few defensive touchdowns. Like, can we pull up? Can we please get our heads back above water?
Yeah, just for the year, just for the year, and maybe his ankle.
If
was
you're benching him for Carson Wentz all year, I'm sorry, it's Jover. That's worse than the way the Colts treated Anthony Richardson.
Benjamin King Quayle in chat says.
So what are the
Carson Wentz supporter? Don't
Yeah,
love
it
that.
sounds like
Don't
it.
love this.
Here's what I
Feels
think.
like
If he can't get the play calls in time, shorten the play calls, which I do believe happened. I do believe that they changed that they broke the huddle earlier. Maybe it's just because Carson Wentz can like talk faster or whatever, but it also seemed like a much simpler offense without going to like super vanilla. They were just running their regular staple concepts a lot more. It was a lot more just regular zone. It was a lot less motion. There were a few cans, but it wasn't every single play. I think they did simplify the offense a bit, which does make sense because Carson Wentz has only been here for like 20 days. And I think that they should just also apply that to McCarthy because what they were doing in the first 2 weeks was too much. And maybe you can rebuild later down the road what that is. But I would love to see what McCarthy can do with this simpler thing as well.
Inman, care to weigh in on this? And if it's 4, like we had someone asking for the odds. If it's 4-1, if it's 4-1, he's gone. Okay.
He ran. He ran from the question.
Scared to compete.
The question was, what are the odds that McCarthy starts against the Eagles? Let's say Wentz is 4-1 and 3-0 as the Vikings starter.
I mean, did he play well in those, or was it more like this one? Like that
that's why
changes it a lot.
It's an impossible conversation. But if they all look like that one, let's just say they all look like that one, where there's relatively few mistakes, getting the ball out relatively in rhythm, except for some third down stuff that I haven't really dug into that much yet. Don't know why he held on the ball so long. What are the odds? I think McCarthy is still the favorite to start against Philly. Too much.
Yeah, heavy favorite to start. Yes.
If we don't know all we know is that they won 2 more games, right? And we don't know how Wentz played, and that's all the information we're given. I don't know. I would actually say that the odds that McCarthy starts are only like 60%. Still favorite, but I don't think that it's that clear. Do we not remember that McCarthy looked awful? He looked awful for 7 of 8 quarters. I'm not saying that's what he's going to be or where he needs to be, and I'm not saying that you can't play him in more games and resolve this problem, right? I also put out an article saying, hey, a lot of really great quarterbacks had 2 awful first games, right? Like that, I believe that, right? But my argument is not whether or not McCarthy is doomed or not. My argument is if you're like 5-1 or whatever, like why are you screwing around? Like, we've seen quarterbacks get benched before and come back. It happened to Tua. It happened to Bryce Young. Technically, kind of Anthony Richardson. Maybe that's not a great precedent. But like that doesn't ruin you forever from having that quarterback. It just means, hey, you've got somebody who's running an operation. You got the league's best defense. It seems like they're going to be playing another candidate for that soon. But I don't know, man.
It requires us a lot to speculate with like how dissatisfied the Vikings themselves are with JJ McCarthy. I think it was in your post-game recap, Arif, of the week 2 game that like the pressure being over 50% basically makes offense untenable, and that has to be like a pretty valid big excuse for that game. And at least when I watched the tape, I walked away from that one thinking like, okay, there were several bad plays there, but it wasn't like the most disastrous. Like, I still thought that we had seen worse quarterback play that week from guys with way longer leashes. It just feels like such a quick hook, man. It's just a crazy quick hook. And I don't think the Vikings are there. We had reporting on the sideline about how they were planning to use this time to help JJ McCarthy be quicker about the huddle. He was listening to the play calls and trying to, get them, relay them. Couldn't think of that word. They're trying to relay them like within the right time and like practicing that on the sideline. Like they had a plan for how to use this. They're not just like putting him to the side and saying, sorry, you can't win games. We got a season to do. Just doesn't feel like that's what's going on. So if we're going to like set odds, they're like minus 400 for me. I don't think that this is a serious consideration until Carson Wentz does something different than he did this week. You can't just throw stick and then get the job.
Okay, so you make a good point. You made a good point earlier that like, hey, why don't we run this offense for McCarthy and see kind of what happens and all that. But I think they were kind of trying to do that a little bit at the first half of the Chicago game, and it wasn't working. It was a little bit different.
It was so much. It was everything was, and he made like bad.
You're making this argument as if it's like some kind of moral judgment on McCarthy. I think there's a good chance
benching him is, yeah.
I don't like. No, that's not how football teams operate.
Well,
it's not
is it
like,
more of
is
a
it
failure?
Fair to this young guy?
That's not how they claim
cares?
to operate. I just kind of don't
Like,
believe that.
what is organizational failure with a young quarterback? Like, is it putting them in a position where they may have to fail and learn on the job, or is it not putting them in the position? Right? Like, what is
depends on the guy.
O'Connell's philosophy?
It does.
About
it does depend on the guy, but like
it depends on the guy.
It's not about like their moral obligation to JJ McCarthy. They should not and do not care about that. It's about the moral obligation to the other 52 players on the team. You got to create the best odds of winning and getting into the playoffs. And that's it. That's the only job that they have. Whether like that's the reason they cut Cam Akers every year. They love the guy. And they think they could do better.
They keep getting proven wrong on that, by the way.
No, they do.
We just signed that guy in the offseason and
they do. They should just keep him. But I'm just saying, no one loves anyone else in the NFL more than the Vikings love Cam Akers. And they still let him go every single year.
Braun, you're being challenged on which NFL teams you played for. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles. Look it up.
So I do want to answer that comment from LVNDNV. So he says Wentz didn't play well, 70% completion, 2 touchdowns.
And I think I said Wentz played fine.
129 QBR, which first of all,
Stay
not
with me,
QBR,
LVN.
that's passer rating. QBR is an ESPN.
Stay with me, Lucas Van Ness.
Lucas Van Ness, that's good. So not 129 QBR, 129 passer rating, different things. But he had
QBR would break the game. That'd be Isaiah Rodgers.
He actually did have a really low QBR, which is a good element to bring into play here. And the reason he had a low QBR and under 50, I think it was like 30 something, right? The reason he had a low QBR, which is ESPN's QBR statistic, which is designed to separate the impact that a quarterback had and the impact of everyone else around him, is because he wasn't asked to do very much. That's the fundamental reason we're having this argument, right? If Wentz was asked to do a lot, I would be clearly demolishing this argument. But it's close, I think, because he wasn't asked to do a lot. He had one pass over 20 yards. It was incomplete. He had a bunch of it. It wasn't like a Bo Nix game. He had a bunch of intermediate throws, and they were all mostly in the first drive. But he had very few pass attempts. The pass attempts were outside of that first drive, pretty low difficulty, relatively speaking. He had better protection in this game. He had some faster passing concepts. I don't want to overrate that because I think there were some faster passing concepts that McCarthy just didn't execute. I think he was just holding onto the ball. Yeah. But like he was getting to the top of his drop and going. I don't know that you can successfully run an NFL offense that will consistently score points with the way that they were asking Carson Wentz to play. But you wouldn't want that because they were up by 30 points. Why would you call it offense where you want to consistently score points if really you could just drain the clock instead? So he wasn't asked to do much. And that's why, and by the way, passer rating overrates completion percentage. So like that's why we're at that spot. And he had a pretty decent yards per attempt, but a lot of it is like after the catch type stuff. A lot of it was low difficulty stuff. A lot of it was like, we got to keep the chains moving because if they don't have 10 possessions, they can't win. So, that's the way they ran the offense. And that's why it is reasonable to have this discussion about who to start once we have more games under our belt. But I think if he continues to play like this, and the defense continues to play like that, which maybe we're asking a lot there, then you want the guy that's not going to screw up. And again, Carson Wentz being the guy who doesn't screw up is a extremely funny scenario.
Yeah, this is the thing I can't trust. I think if we're gonna say, okay, their sole job,
but if he hadn't done it, then why do we assume he's gonna do it?
Because he's Carson Wentz.
I'll
say one last thing.
Other side of the break. Other side of the, hold it to the other side. Keep it going. This is good stuff. Luke Braun with his rebuttal. We're brought to you today by Mazda's, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Christian Darrisaw coming back. I mean, what an intangible to have that guy on your offensive line, blocking for your new backup QB, blocking for your new RB1 Jordan Mason, setting the tone physically, keeping the Vikings moving the chains and moving forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved.
Christian Darrisaw 1-0, offensive tackle wins.
Left tackle wins.
OT wins.
Here we go. On the before the break, Luke Braun was about to launch into a rebuttal against.
This is where I'll end it, because then we should move on to other stuff. But by the principle of we don't need to worry about, like, this is not a developmental time. This isn't the preseason. Their goal is to win games. Totally get that. We have a lot of priors on Carson Wentz to suggest that safe QB play will not continue. Trusting that, I think, would be a little naive after, especially a game that is
attempts were pretty safe. I would argue
that you just characterized as he didn't get asked to do that much. One game where he didn't get asked to do that much. Mm-hmm. And if there's two more games where they win, but he still is not asked to do that much, which I think is the standard we've kind of agreed on. Two more games that are kind of like this one. Probably not enough to overturn like a whole year of that with Sam Darnold was not enough.
McCarthy is
let me finish.
Okay.
The whole year of Sam Darnold was not enough to overturn the reputation he had for being like an interception machine, even though he only threw 6-7 interceptions that whole year.
By the way, just hold on. Sam Darnold led the league in EPA per play this week, and also has the fastest time to throw in the NFL. I just think that's hilarious. It doesn't have anything to do with
that is hilarious, yeah. But I don't think that.
Oh, hey, Inman's back.
He has to do more. That's how we can characterize this.
Sure.
If it's just you operate some basic staples, defenses are going to catch on to that. That offense is going to fall apart. He's going to start forcing things. It's going to be a turnover mess. And then you're going to be like, wait, and then you're going to look indecisive, right? If it's week 9 and you decided we're going to roll with the hot hand, and then he throws 3 interceptions because there's finally some tape on the guy, then it's going to, then you're going to look like an idiot.
It has to be a hot hand decision. I don't think you can take into account, the Eagles are hard. The Ravens. This is
Are we still talking about Wentz, JJ?
We have not moved
anywhere.
It's
the only conversation.
No, nine other things on the list today. We're still talking about. Okay,
Inman,
it's
what do you
JJ.
got?
It's JJ.
No,
show,
that
it's
cannot
JJ
be
show.
part
They
of it at all.
built this team. Arif is so right that it is in win now mode. It's win now.
No idea what we were talking about the last 9 minutes.
But the way they built this team, though, to accommodate a young rookie quarterback, so to speak, right? Never had a start coming into this year. I know it's his year 2, but they built this great defense. They improved the offensive line. They brought in Jordan Mason. They're trying to improve the running game. It's again, you use a top 10 pick on a dude. I can't give up after 2 games. Carson Wentz would need to look like.
He's not giving up on him.
I just can't move my opinion on Carson Wentz.
Josh Allen.
He's not a starter still. He's a backup.
Yeah,
been a backup for 2 years. Rightfully so. He's still a backup.
Again, I only got a 1-game sample of Carson Wentz. You look great on one drive and then pretty after that. I mean, better in the second half, like you mentioned. That's not enough to move the needle and change my mind that, okay, we're pulling the plug on 2 games in for our top 10 pick that obviously we need to figure out here. And obviously we're still trying to win. We're still trying to put people in the seats and have a successful season. But we have to figure out by the end of this year if JJ is the guy moving forward.
Well, segue into this.
You don't have to figure that out at the end of this year.
You do, because now you're entering year 3 of his contract already, and at that point, who are you going to lose? Well, I mean,
Wait, they didn't know anything about Jordan Love, and they gave him a contract extension.
And we hated that. We hated that. And how's that working out?
Cut to Jordan
Nobody
Love
liked
throwing
that.
a game-losing interception.
Not one person was like, "That was a good idea, dude."
Yeah, love it.
No, like there's so many quarterbacks that have sat for 2 years instead of one. Who cares? It's fine. You're not giving up on the kid. You're not failing your obligation to him. He is playing below a back.
Which top 10 quarterbacks sat for 2 years?
I don't care.
And got benched.
Nobody.
And like
there's not a top 10 quarterback.
Jordan Love
that
had a
sat for 2
planned 3-year, like,
Sure.
And they had an MVP plan that they couldn't
get
rid of. Like, that's, I feel, unique.
No, every situation is obviously a little bit different there, right? But I would argue, right, that you're not giving up on a guy just because you're having someone else play quarterback that season. I would also argue that Carson Wentz is playing like a backup quarterback right now, and that JJ has the potential to play like a starting quarterback. That does not mean that that's going to happen this year. It is so hard to correct habits mid-season. So I would think that it makes the most sense if your starter is playing below the level of a backup quarterback, and you've got a backup quarterback playing at the level of a backup quarterback, that maybe that's the best solution. And then you can Case Keenum him, Sam Darnold him, let him leave. Get another third-round compensatory pick like you did for Sam Darnold and somehow Daniel Jones, who is also one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league right now. He's like fourth.
I do want that comp pick.
Chat is going absolutely insane right now. Chat,
I know,
you're on one. I love it.
This is actually the best. It's the best.
My whole deal is that I update based off of I have bids, but I also update based off of
super respectable commentary from Arif that he's not just going bit-based commentary. This is like, he's
bigger man than I.
Obviously, I missed a big chunk here. Did you guys talk about the Darisaw factor yesterday at all?
Not yet.
So let's hold on.
What did I miss?
So offensive line.
Wait, I want one more, and then I'm out.
All right.
I don't think it's smart to assume that JJ McCarthy just wouldn't get better as the year goes on. And I actually think that that's definitely an idea worth pursuing, because if he just has to ascend above a backup level, I don't think that that's like a rare thing at all for a young quarterback to get a little better as his year wears on.
Yeah, and I cited in my piece. It happened with CJ Stroud, it happened with Justin Herbert, it happened with Jaden Daniels the very same year. After 2 rough starts, they got better, especially Jaden Daniels, who had a lot of similar problems to JJ McCarthy. But I'm saying
you need to do better than a backup level. Carson Wentz has to play at a quality starting level for a couple of games here. Then it becomes a different conversation.
Yeah, we're having an argument about a hypothetical, like Carson Wentz.
Yeah, but if you just like are a decent backup and you Mike White your way to a couple of wins, thanks for your service.
Mm-hmm. So if you block for a running back to do what Jordan Mason did with JJ McCarthy as the quarterback, obviously he's going to look a lot better. If you pass protect for JJ McCarthy with Christian Darrisaw as the left tackle, as Inman brought up, obviously he's going to look a lot better. And that, I think, is reason enough to think that he deserves to have that opportunity, to not have Justin School hamstringing everything on the left side of the offensive line. That has to be taken into account here. Jordan Mason, I think, is your RB1. Can we crown him now? He is your RB1 when Aaron Jones comes back. And I would give him.
I think
this is a real hot hand situation.
Yeah,
I would hot hand.
I wouldn't want to diminish his volume either.
The difference here with Jordan Mason and the Carson Wentz, JJ McCarthy discussion is that Mason has outperformed Jones in the same offensive line situation. And then with a new improved offensive line situation, he's like second in the NFL in rush yards over expected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He is showing a lot more burst and a little bit more agility than I think I expected, just based off of watching him in San Francisco. Not even I didn't look up his 40 time or anything like that. But his speed across the line of scrimmage, when he hits the line of scrimmage, is top half in the NFL. I think it's top 20 among all running backs in terms of just speed at the line of scrimmage. And his ability to generate yards after contact is really high. I think he's 9th in the NFL in yards after contact per attempt, based off of how you mess around with qualifying rushing attempts. And his biggest gain, 24. I mean, he wasn't touched for 8-9 yards, so he's avoiding contact too, right? So he's doing a lot. Is he's like, I think the reason that you would want, and it's kind of a similar tenor to the conversation we were just having, the reason you might want somebody like an Aaron Jones to play more is because he's got, in theory, a higher ceiling. Hopefully, he showcases more burst, the burst that we're used to seeing from him. But like in theory, you can rip off like a 50-yard run from him. Mason, you're unlikely to do that. But I think that if you're always like, I don't think he had a single negative run yesterday. I think they were all at least 1 yard. That's an amazing place to be as a running back.
Yeah.
So
if you're trying to get the best out of what your players do well and like where they are going to succeed the most, I think you want to lighten the workload on Jones to keep him fresh. He was a very light.
You don't want to. I
Bay.
mean, the bell cow. Sorry to interrupt, Sam, but the bell cow days, in the NFL aren't like really a thing anymore. So like, who's starting, who's not starting? It's more about the snaps and touches and carries, right? But I don't think you really want to give Aaron Jones at this point in his career, after what we've seen the last 2 seasons now, like a heavy workload. Do you want to keep him fresh? Hopefully, going into the playoffs, so you got both those guys healthy. And that's why I think they brought in Jordan Mason, to lean on him and obviously help your young quarterback improve the run game, which goes with the offensive line and everything else. But I don't think Aaron Jones should, even when he comes back and is healthy, from the middle to the late end of the season, I don't think he should be getting more than 15, 20 snaps, 8, 10 touches. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just not that. Jordan Mason is that bell cow prototype.
He is the durability guy.
Yeah.
When he gets
so far
10 or more carries in a game in his career, so 11 times he's had 10 or more carries. In those games, he averages 5.3 yards per carry.
Once against the Vikings last year, I believe, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. He's legit, and I could easily see a future backfield tandem. After Aaron Jones is a cap casualty next year, I could see a Scott Mason 1-2 punch.
Think about had they not
Xavier
brought in
Scott,
Jordan
let's go.
Mason.
I'm right again. Xavier Scott, go Black Bears.
Think about had they not brought in Jordan Mason. And just what the situation would look like now.
It'd be
Xavier Scott and Cam Akers would have been 50-50 split.
Xavier Scott would be like a breakout star.
I love it.
All the fantasy nerds that were complaining about Travis Hunter after the first 15 plays, I guess, would be so apoplectic about Xavier Scott.
One thing about Aaron Jones too is, I think this is true with running backs as it is with all the other positions. But like, ages can hit you like a cliff, and we could be there. And the another big difference is the priors might not matter as much if what we're seeing now is like clearly like he ain't gonna get younger, and he also has a $14 million cap hit next year that you can save about half of with a cut. So
6.8 million dead, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, Christian Darrisaw, great. I am hesitantly excited about the Myles Garrett matchup. Did you watch him in that game? I didn't know he could get better, but that was terrifying.
He's insane.
The way Myles Garrett played.
That's a good line over there in Green Bay too. What they like, Mason Graham did stuff, Alex Wright did stuff. That was insane.
Yeah, Mason Graham had the best defensive tackle win rate in history, which mind you only goes back to like 2019. But like, holy crap!
Wow.
Yeah, nuts.
I didn't see a lot of that game other than red zone while the Vikings were playing. Did Parsons have a big day?
He was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a couple of disruptions, but right now the most high profile thing he did was jump off sides at the end in a critical moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had to like answer questions about it in the locker room.
Yeah. It was like Myles Garrett is so good that like Micah Parsons before the game was asked like, "Hey, is this guy better than you?" And he was like, "Yeah." Yes, he is. He's the only one. But like, yeah. that was like nuts. I was taken aback. But yeah, no, I'm really fascinated to see how Carson Wentz and this offensive line does against just a demon core of defensive line.
Yeah, that
Stefanski's got our number, man.
Yeah.
Even the Ravens game where they hung 40 on him, like most of that scoring didn't come until something kind of broke at the end of the game. Like,
yeah, that was a weird game.
They hung with the Ravens for like 3 quarters before they broke down, which honestly respectable with
like I like Greg Newsome. I think he's pretty good, but like the idea that like your best quarterback is Greg Newsome and you're holding the Ravens to like 10 points for 3 quarters is crazy to me. They were doing work.
I've got more nerdy stats, if you can believe it. I've also got a party
I've got
foul
a nerdy
rant.
stat too. Yeah.
Beautiful. We'll get to that on the other side of this break, plus our week 3 betting results. And where do we make those bets? At FanDuel, where new customers can still this week bet $5. And if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can sprinkle it around. $5 here, $10 here, $25 here. You can do future bets, live wagering, same game parlays, all the options at your disposal. This week, our crew went 7-1 betting props on the Vikings game. Yeah, 7-1. That's got to be our best week ever. Makes the game a lot more exciting. Vikings-Bengals was interesting to the final moment because Arif and I were sweating the Jamar Chase unders. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com. Get started today, FanDuel.com, and place your first $5 bet. More nerdy stats. Arif, hit me.
Oh, yeah. So this was the second most productive day for blocked kicks as far as our records go. There were 2 games. I think I pulled it up on True Media. This was so difficult to create a stat for in True Media, but I figured it out. 2006 week 2 and 2004 week 12. Those Sundays had 6 blocked kicks. This one had 5 blocked kicks. Week 3, 2025. So you had the extra point block in the Giants Chiefs game, which okay. and then you had the Brandon McManus block in the Cleveland Packers game. You had the Philadelphia kick block against the Rams, which helped your friend out, Sam, because it was returned for a touchdown. Jordan Davis, who ran, I think he beat 18 miles per hour in his 330-pound frame. I know that he's
Jesus
lost.
Christ.
Who did it better, him or Linval?
Linval. Because because Linval hit 19. So I asked somebody at Next Gen Stats to calculate force time, mass, right? Mass times speed. So not force, but momentum, right? Who had the most momentum? And Linval Joseph's return, I think, had the most in history. Which actually he should have published that. That would have been awesome to tweet out. And then we had
don't put the sound guy in front of him again. Bad things would happen.
That was rough. And then we had the Will McDonald block against the Buccaneers, which somehow, after that touchdown, led to the Buccaneers winning. Baker Mayfield saying after the game, that was for Steve Wilkes, who I hate, was awesome. That was amazing. Yeah, their defensive coordinator fired me, so that was for them. I was like, Jesus Christ, truly a defensive back in a quarterback's body. And then the least discussed one was the Joey Sly 62-yard field goal blocked by the Colts, who, good Lord, have a quarterback who is good? ?
So you got to get these young quarterbacks time, Arif. They need reps.
Yeah, and 3 other teams apparently.
Yeah, the year 5, 6 breakout thing is
it's a thing, man.
Enough of a pattern
it's a KOC thing, dude. It's stepping in that building.
Well, no, it's both the
Geno
Shanahan
too,
and a KOC thing, right? Because Shanahan couldn't get his first round pick to do jack. Right, but he's gotten 8 other quarterbacks to be extremely efficient.
Mac Jones.
I am watching with great interest what happens next to Zach Wilson. I feel like it's just another one of these quarterbacks has to come in.
And the thing is, I've been going also Zach Wilson, because I've been going through all of these and Zach Wilson has the least likelihood because I've been going through all these quarterbacks that have revived their careers and what markers of their play might have improved and what don't improve. And Zach Wilson is probably just terminally boned. He just is bad. But I'm intrigued. Right?
Dude, Josh Rosen retired too early.
Someday,
man. Bring back Josh Rosen.
Right? Yeah.
That's a good
point. So R. Emmer said Shelby Harris has 37 passes defense and 6 blocked field goals as a rotational DT for the Browns. After the game, I believe the Packers were asked, "Hey, have you heard about the Shelby Harris guy and how he often blocks field goals?" And they were like, "Yes, we're very aware."
Who asked that?
Shelby Harris, famously the best player exchanged in the Russell Wilson trade.
True. Wow.
That makes sense.
So we were wondering this on the post-game show yesterday. Vikings scored the most points since ... I have the answer. It's Sunday Night Football, TCF Bank Stadium against Eli Manning in the cold.
Yeah.
Giants game.
Eli Manning catching a lot of strays today.
17. Eli against the Vikings. That was just a house of horrors.
49-17.
Yeah.
Well, Eli,
He just could not figure it out.
You know, this is going to get crazy nerdy. So you know, in Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, how Rangers have favored enemies.
Oh my God!
So
I
Eli
totally get the reference.
is Tom Brady, right?
Yeah. Waiting for somebody to bring this up.
Hey, if you don't get that reference, it's okay.
Don't worry about it.
One person in the chat got it.
All right,
other
PhD. Thank you.
other score-related nerdy stat. The Vikings scored the second most points in team history through 3 quarters. We all remember the great game, October 18th, 1970, where they scored 51 points through 3 quarters against Dallas, and Ed Schrockman had a pick 6 and a block punt TD in that game.
Yeah,
Very
one of those where were you games?
Where were you moments?
I remember.
55 years ago. Any other nerdy stats? And then
The chat's loving the Ranger analogy.
Trey
Yeah, we got a
Hendrickson,
couple.
stud edge, came into the game, I think, leading the league in pressures. Almost positive, that's right. Christian Darrisaw just stonewalled him, man. 38 snaps, 0 pressures, 0 quarterback hits allowed, 0 sacks. I know he had 1 penalty, but not only, versus edge rushers versus the pass, but in the run game as well. Christian Darrisaw, the impact he had yesterday cannot be overstated.
Getting like 20
100%.
snaps, too.
We can throw in one more. By net success rate, a stat and bar graph that a guy named Sam Hoppin posts on Twitter every week. The
Yeah,
did
I love
we
Hoppin.
really get beat that bad index, where it's just a
net
a bar
success
graph
rate.
of
Let's
net
go.
success rate. Vikings led the week with looks like 19. It's a bar graph with 5 percentage intervals. So we'll go with 19% net success rate. Led the week. Last in the week was the Bucks, who did beat the Jets, but had a negative 13% success rate.
Bucks about to fall off. They went 3-0 with a 1.2 point and 3-point win.
Yeah.
That's a crazy team.
They're about to have some conversations that we are used to.
Right? Yeah.
I might
But,
I might throw them a couple of playbooks.
But yeah, so like the net success rate thing is the thing I was going to mention before we kind of got a little bit distracted, a tiny bit distracted by a discussion about JJ and Carson, which is that like we won't see the exact nature of this particular defensive performance probably again, right? But the success rate is really, really encouraging. Mind you, backup quarterback, pretty bad offensive line. They did give up after a while.
They did. The coach said it at halftime. That was wild. Like, we're playing for pride now. What? You can't say that on TV.
Yeah, so that is
We're the 33
important
quarterback
context
in this building.
that the whole team gave up. And also, I don't know why this seems important to me, but it is. But every quarterback who took a snap in that game has played for the Vikings. And
Oh my God.
that's good. That's good.
And 4 quarterbacks took a snap.
yeah. So
And Justin Jefferson had a throw.
and Justin
Yeah.
Jefferson.
Oh, speaking of, we had another bold prediction hit in for the Locked On Vikings bold prediction. Someone predicted that Jefferson and Naylor would combine for more receiving yards than Jamar and Chase, or than Chase and Higgins.
Oh, hey,
That's
look at that.
fantastic. Yeah.
Crushed him.
Which leads us, I think, to
not even
our
close.
betting segment, right?
Hold on. First party foul.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
Sam won't let anyone else ever do a segue. That's what I've decided.
Control freak over here.
Just let us ramble for like 20 minutes.
The NFL has
Just sitting on the runway waiting for you guys to land. Hello?
I'm in the air traffic control tower, being totally ignored. Pilots are doing whatever they want. So the
Planes
NFL
clip the
has,
tower.
the NFL has great technology, great the yellow line, the 4K instant replay, numerous camera angles.
Chips and balls.
This virtual measurement thing is an absolute bust. Absolute garbage. Bring back the chain gang. So I timed it out. I went back on NFL Plus and I rewatched the sequence after the 3rd and 12 run by P. Ryan. Took 2 minutes and 45 seconds to virtually measure a spot that was wrong. So Zach Taylor has to challenge it. It takes another 2 minutes and 50 seconds to complete the challenge for a 6-minute delay.
You know Sam's
doing?
mad because he pulled out a stopwatch.
You went back and timed all that? I'm so impressed. What dedication?
So mad.
I mean, it's not that hard when you just can scroll on the bottom and see
there's a stopwatch on the screen.
The time on the screen and subtract. And we didn't even get the fun graphic either. They didn't even show us the virtual measurement graphic on the screen, so we didn't have the thrill of that.
Didn't get the payoff. Oh wow!
Bring back the chain gang.
Before I was on the fence, but when you mentioned that they didn't give the payoff,
the chain gang can measure a wrong spot just as quickly, probably twice as fast as a 2-minute 45-second debacle. I thought that replay assist was doing something in the background and they would have it figured out. Nope. 2 minutes and 45
replay
seconds.
Assist also this weekend got some things definitively wrong. When the whole point of replay assist is they only intervene when it's obvious, but replay assist lost 2 challenges this week, which is crazy.
What?
Wasn't replay assist as of this year allowed to step in the cases of helmet to helmet contact or face masks or stuff on the quarterback? Because they missed a nasty one on Wentz.
They cannot add flags.
They can't add flags. They can take them off.
They can't add flags. I thought they changed that specifically. They made a rule about what happened.
How about it's a $10 billion industry? How about we just, if we know what play and the call, what the call should be, how about we just call it that? How about we just figure it out?
How about we just vibe the catches? Yeah, for sure. That sounded sarcastic, but that is my
the best catch rule is judgment call. Deal with
it. Jeff Okuda.
I didn't mean to sound dismissive of Inman. I agree with him, but it was just.
It felt right. It felt natural either way. So we'll vibe with that. Jeff Okuda, not a great day. Don't throw salt in the wound, though. I didn't like that helmet.
Give up 128-yard catch. He's fine.
I didn't like that helmet to helmet. Personal.
You didn't like it on his part or the official's part?
The official's part. I didn't think that was.
I don't think it was to helmet. I think it was helmet to neck area, which is it doesn't have to be helmet to helmet contact.
Yeah,
it's that he led with the top and not the shoulder or anything like that.
He led probably with the crown, but he didn't hit with the crown, and so a lot of people, understandably, were really upset about kind of the way that was discussed and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that it happened 10
maybe it was the
seconds
verbiage they used then. Maybe it was the way they explained it, which.
And the broadcast makes a huge deal out of the Wentz one, and then 4 seconds later, that one happens, and the crowd goes crazy.
I didn't come in prepared with a party foul, but I've emerged with one, which is Tony Romo, please do some work. Please, God, do some work.
He watched the tape on Taylor Scott, dude. He watched the tape on Max Brosmer. He said so.
Yeah, sure, but he couldn't get Levi Drake Rodriguez's name right when the broadcast is staring directly at his jersey with his number and his name. I'm sorry, he's got long hair and that covered up the name a little bit, but here's a clue. Jalen Redmond does not have that. So maybe that could have been a way for you to figure that out. He got names wrong the entire broadcast. He was just saying stuff that didn't add anything, which I know that's a color guy's specialty, but if you also add stuff, I'm going to forgive you for when you're just you got to score points here, Jim. Okay, fine. You get a couple of those. You get a couple of big third down here's, right? But you got to add something. And he added maybe one thing the whole broadcast. He got 4 or 5 things wrong. And he doesn't enunciate very well either. So when he's saying stuff like Chase and Jefferson, it sounds like he's saying Jason Jefferson. And maybe the least of my problems, but when you add on to all of the other problems, it's just so bad, man. It's so bad, and it used to be at least fun because the gimmick was cool and it worked of him predicting plays. And here's the thing about the gimmick: he did explain it. You learned something when he correctly predicted a play, and now he's just not doing anything, man.
I thought
every
that
game,
man
simulcast all 9 at once. He could do it. I believe in him.
The biggest blunder, and he did correct it, but Nance said that Ziggy was Mark's dad in the booth.
Okay,
did you see that?
That is an insane blunder. But also, Tony Romo said that Carson Wentz grew up in Minnesota, and Nance gently guided the conversation to Bismarck, North Dakota, right? But he said he grew up in Minnesota. And here's the thing I learned from apparently the North Code Discord, which is at that point the game for Western North Dakota cut off and switched to another game, so they didn't get Nance's correction.
Oh my God!
That Carson Wentz grew up where they live. The people of Dickinson, North Dakota are mad, and they're right to be mad.
I don't have nearly as much passion for mine, but I would like to call out Matt LaFleur putting Zach Tom in before he was ready from his injury, getting re-injuring his, I think, oblique on the first play, and then having to own up for that on the podium. Woof.
Yeah.
We're late, but I want to get to betting results. Week 3, we go 7-1. Luke Braun, to complete the bit, you took Bengals ML, so that's the
and I'm going to keep doing it.
You hit on Naylor over on longest reception. Now I missed that show. Why? What made you do that?
Naylor is open downfield a lot, and I was like, Carson Wentz is a YOLO ball kind of guy, so that was about the extent of my logic.
It's crazy that you hit that and Carson didn't actually complete a pass over 20 yards.
Yeah, no, I think it was like a 13-yard pass with a little extra after the catch.
Outstanding. Arif, you go 2-0. By the way, Arif is leading. He's got 1,341 off the mythical 1,000. You got Jordan Mason over. You got Chase under receptions by a half.
By half a reception. Let's go,
Oh
baby.
my God. Giovanni Ricci Tensor tailed me? Why would you tail me?
That's crazy. We go 7-1 and he tails the guy with the 1.
Correct.
I hope you tailed just the Naylor bet, but that's
I think
also
that's what it means, but my God, dude. Call the number.
Or hold on, does he mean Luke I, as in Luke Inman? Do you mean Luke Inman?
No, well.
Or I tailed that one?
Okay, if you tailed Inman, that's way
we should
smarter.
keep talking about this for the next 10 minutes.
I like that the Italian stallion is your profile pic there, though. That's nice. Luke Inman goes 2-0. He is in second place with $1,236 balance. Hawkinson, 40+ yards. Chase Brown over on receiving yards. That's about the only Bengals over that must have hit in that game. Good job.
Yeah. Confirmed Luke Braun.
You got me on the Naylor bet. Well, I'm glad it worked out for you once.
Yeah.
Never do that again.
Glad you caught the one episode, one segment, the one time. No, just kidding.
All right, so now that I'm in the lead, I do want to open the discussion of being more serious about the winner's reward. I get to make Luke Braun do whatever I want, right?
You make me admit that I'm wrong about the 2 debates we've had in the last 2.
Arif would rather make Luke Braun suffer than to have something nice for himself. That's
correct.
How depraved this relationship is.
It's always been like that.
I mean, if I hadn't gone 2-0, I would easily be $500 or more. I'd be $700 behind. You guys are all in the profit. I saved myself. I go 2-0. I'm up to 967. I hit the over and I hit the Chase under for a total of $267 profit yesterday. So I'm 2-4 overall. Inman's 3-3. Arif's 4-2. Braun's 3-3. Everyone doing pretty well. I'm the only one who's negative, but I'm only negative by about $32. So a decent start.
This is our most successful gambling season so far. That's crazy.
Yeah, the minimums are going to get higher. Don't talk too soon.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We're blowing all our goodwill with the low amounts. This is bad.
I've used some of my maxes already. I'm comfortable at least.
You're down to 2 max bets.
Yeah.
You're
outstanding.
Just how I like it. All right. That was a good show, and we got to roll. This is the Viking Squad Show. We are back on Wednesday with the Care 11 crew. This group back together on Thursday, previewing the Ireland game. I will. I should come up with a condition for this. Something needs to happen. If we get to 10,000 subscribers by Thursday, I will do the second half of the show in an Irish accent.
Oh God.
I'm here for that.
And if we get to 15,000, we will never do anything like that.
Yeah, how many subscribers for you to not do that?
Don't subscribe if you don't want me to do that. That's easy enough. All right.
Sam,
Is it a
this is
threat?
the worst CTA I've ever seen. 10 to do it.
Reverse
15 to not
psychology.
do it.
You guys won't subscribe. You won't.
Arif has never done anything fun in his life. Just know that.
Yeah,
Know that.
famously.
This is the
Yeah,
man who would
that's-
rather have bad things happen to his enemy than good
Yeah,
things
how is
happen
that
to himself.
fun? That's the most fun one can have on a Sunday. I don't.
Let me check the numbers.
Enjoy
Check
your
the back
Monday,
end real
everybody.
quick.
This is the Viking Squad Show.
Peace
Check
out.
out Locked On Vikings and Wide Left and the postcasts with Luke Inman. I'm Sam Ekstrom. See ya.